Welcome to Untold Lores, Part 2 of 4. Joseph Moore stood at the keeper's desk inside the empty Flannan Lighthouse on December 26, 1900. He held the official duty log, the daily record that lighthouse keepers were required to maintain with precision and regularity. He opened it and began to read the final entries. What he read was documented in the subsequent official inquiry conducted by the Northern Lighthouse Board. The log entries for the days immediately before the disappearance described conditions and events that were deeply inconsistent with the known behavior of all three men. The entry for December 12, 1900, written by Thomas Marshall, described a severe storm approaching from the west. Marshall wrote that the storm was the worst he had seen in his experience. He wrote that the noise was exceptional. He also recorded that James Ducat, the experienced principal keeper with over 20 years of service, had been quiet all day. He noted that Donald MacArthur had been crying. These observations were preserved in the official inquiry. 3 professional lighthouse men, one with 2 decades of experience, were described as emotionally distressed before the worst of the weather had even arrived. The entry for December 13, 1900, written again by Marshall, stated that the storm had continued and that Ducat had been praying. Marshall also noted that he himself had been praying. The log entry gave no further explanation. The entry for December 15, 1900, the final entry in the log, was brief. It stated only that the storm had ceased, that the weather was calm, and that God was over all. Then there were no further entries. Not ever. The inquiry established that the weather records for the Flannan Isles area during December 12 and 13 were consistent with a significant Atlantic storm. However, subsequent meteorological analysis noted something that complicated the existing account. Weather records for December 15, the day of the final log entry, indicated that the weather in the area was calm. Whatever had driven 3 experienced men to pray and weep was already over by December 15. On December 15 the weather was calm. The lighthouse light went dark, and then they were gone. Moore also reported on the physical state of the external landing areas. On the western side of the island, at a location called the West Landing, the official inquiry recorded the following: damaged iron railings that had been bent and twisted out of position. A large iron box used to store ropes and buoys, bolted to the rock more than 30 meters above the sea level, had been moved from its position. A set of concrete steps leading down to the West Landing had sections broken away. The estimated force required to cause this type of damage to iron fixtures bolted into solid rock 30 meters above sea level was described in the inquiry as extraordinary. This damage was consistent with an extremely powerful wave event. The inquiry also noted that the east landing of the island, the side where the keepers more commonly worked, showed no such damage. The oilskin coats remained hanging. If the keepers had gone to the West Landing, even in calm weather following a storm, on a ledge battered by extraordinary wave events, they would have put on their protective gear. They did not. Captain Harvey completed his full report to the Northern Lighthouse Board on December 26, 1900. His final line noted that there was not the least clue to the cause of the casualty. When Moore first entered the lighthouse kitchen and saw the overturned chair, he noticed the table still held the remains of a meal that had been prepared but not fully eaten. A chair is knocked over when someone rises from it suddenly and without intention to do so, not when someone leaves a room calmly. Someone had stood up from that table so fast the chair fell, and whatever made them stand up that quickly was never found inside that lighthouse or anywhere on that island. That's it for Part 2. Follow Untold Lores for Part 3. Like and subscribe for daily stories.